Today we're learning lesson 11.1 on proportions. We have dealt and solved with proportions today, but here's our official in the past. But today here's our official lesson that proportion is what? It's like two fractions or ratios that are equal to each other. There's this property called the cross multiplication property, which is saying if we have a over b equals c over d, right? We got what we just talked about, then AD equals BC. And how we like to call that is we just cross multiply. The D goes across, the B goes across, forming this kind of X look, and then A times D equals B times C. So that's all we do. We just cross multiply and divide. If there's an X down here where D is, we cross multiply, and then we may have to divide by whatever's next to that X to solve. So, for example, we've got 3 over y equals 5 over 8, right? So how many 3 over y sides equals 5 over 8, right? And so cross multiply 8 times 3 equals y times 5, right? So I'm going to emphasize this a lot on the first ones, but as we get further, I'll just say cross multiply. So I get 3 times 8 equals 5 times y, and in order to solve, I need to divide by 5. So that's why the common phrase is cross multiply, then divide, or cross multiply and divide. So now we're going to divide by 5 on each side, and so we got 3 times 8 divided by 5 gives us 24 over 5. Most of our answers will be nice numbers, but this is an example of one where it's going to be a fraction. Next, we've got 4 over x plus 1 equals 10 over 3x. So again, cross multiplying, 3x times 4 equals 10 times x plus 1. And just a note, these are in parentheses, so it's not just 10 times 1 or 10 times x. It's 10 times the whole x plus 1. And so it looks like this. 4 times 3x equals 10 times x plus 1. So 4 times 3 is going to give us 12x, and then 10 times x gives us 10x. Don't forget this part, 10 times plus 1. Your answer will be very different if you don't finish that. So we got 12x over here, 10x plus, not just 1 anymore, the 10 goes into that as well. And then we're going to subtract the 10x from each side, because then we'll have 2x is 10, right? So subtract 10x, 2x is 10, and then divide by 2, I get x equals 5. You can always plug your answer back in to see if it makes sense, just saying with 5 because it's a little bit nicer than this. So if we plugged it in quick, 5 plus 1 over here is 6. 4, 6 equals 3 times 5 is 15. So does 4, 6 equal 10 15th? Right? Might not look nice and neat, but both of these equal 2/3. So, yep, they're equal. And that is a quick way to check it out, especially on some of the longer ones we'll be doing here. Next, we've got 6 over x equals 15 over x plus 6. Again, cross multiplying here. We're going to have 6 times x plus 6 equals 15 times x, or just 15x. This is going to be 6 times x, 6x, plus 6 times 6, 36. So 6x and 36 come from distributing. Don't forget to do that. We've got 15x over here. 6x is smaller, so we're just going to subtract 6x from both sides to get 9x over here equals 36, and then divide by 9. 36 divided by 9 gives us x is 4. 6 over 4 equals 15 over 10. Pretty similar to the last problem. 4 over 5 equals x plus 7 over 3x. So cross multiply, and we've got 12x equals 5 times x plus 7. 5 times x gives us 5x. 5 times 7 is 35. And then we're going to move this 5x over by subtraction. Right, again, I'm typically move the smaller amount of x over, so we're not dividing by a negative. But in the last two problems, we're doing that just is the shortest number of steps. So this will be 0. We'll just have 35. 12 minus 5 is 7. So 7 times what is 35? Divide by 7, and we get x is 5. Moving on to the next one. Same idea. 3 over 2 equals x plus 3 over x minus 1. Cross multiply. 3 times x minus 1 equals 2 times x plus 3. And again, we're going to have 3 times x and 3 times minus 1. So we'll get 3x minus 3. 2 times x, 2x. 2 times 3, 6. So 3x minus 3 equals 2x plus 6. Moving the 2x because 2 is less than 3, so subtract 2x from each side, and that means we have to move this minus 3 with addition, plus 3, to both sides, and we get 3 plus 6 is 9, 3x minus 2x is x, and x equals 9. Plugging it back in, 3 over 2 equals 9 plus 3 is 12. Over 9 minus 1, 8. Does that equal 3/2? Yep, divide by 4, divide by 4. That works. Okay. Feel free to do these quick checks on your own. Very highly recommended to do it on any test or assessment, because if you can check your answer, why not? Especially if you got a calculator as well. Harder problems. Now note, these typically require an x times a piece that already has an x, and once we get an x squared, the way to solve is typically with factoring or using square roots. So these are going to be a little bit harder. 3 over x equals x plus 1 over 4, cross multiply, and we'll get 12 equals x times x plus 1, or x squared plus x, right? The x goes to both pieces. To solve when we have a situation like this is what we learned in chapter 10, right? In chapter 10, we learned how to factor. So what we want to do is we want to make the piece that has x squared, we want that to be positive x squared, so it's set right here. So we're going to move the 12 by subtraction to get it to this side. So subtracting 12 from both sides, we'll get 0 equals x squared plus x minus 12. Now, it might seem weird. Typically, we want the x's on one side, right? Numbers on the other. But with factoring, you want everything on one side, because then we're going to say kind of factor, which is, the polynomial term for divide. We're going to divide this into two pieces so we can find the one or two answers that x could be. And so in this situation, we've got 1 times negative 12 gives us negative 12. That's going to be on top of our factoring. Plus 1x means 1's on bottom. And then numbers that multiply to equal minus 12 and equal 1. We've got, 4 and 3. Oh, yep, 4 minus 3. So plus 4 minus 3 are two numbers. Order doesn't matter there. And we're just going to rewrite, because it's 1x squared. This is going to become x minus 3 times x plus 4 in parentheses for each. And if this equals 0, either x minus 3 equals 0 or x plus 4 equals 0. So then that's what we do. Set x minus 3 equals 0, plus 3 to both sides. X is 3. We set x plus 4 equal to 0, minus 4 from both sides. So x could equal 3 or minus 4. And if we look up here, 3 over 3 equals 3 plus 1 over 4. 3/3 equals 4/4. Writing it out so you can see it a little better. Yep, both of those look like they basically equal 1. How about negative 4? 3 over minus 4, sorry, a little sloppy, equals minus 4 plus 1, which would be minus 3. Ooh, a little backwards, over 4. Right, these are the same, sorry, very sloppy, but 3 over negative 4 equals negative 3 over 4. Those are the same. So both answers work. A little bit more work though, right? Typically we're done by right around here. In this case, with factoring, it does take a little longer. A couple more of these. 3 over x plus 1 equals x minus 1 over 8. Cross multiply. And this time we're going to be using square roots, but we also have a little more multiplying to do. So 3 times 8, 24, equals x plus 1 times x minus 1. Well, x plus 1 times x minus 1, you need to do x times x first, x squared, x times minus 1 minus x, plus 1 times x plus x. This is FOIL. Firsts, outers, inners, and then last would be plus 1 times minus 1. And that's all done in this parentheses for us already, but I just want to show you that there's 4 pieces, and then we're going to simplify. X squared minus x plus x, well, that's 0, minus 1. So we just get x squared minus 1. So I'm bringing that back over here. We've got x squared minus 1, and then 3 times 8 was 24. Now, because it just happens that 24 is pretty close to a perfect square, if we move this one over, we can use our square roots. We could also factor if we bring the 24 over, but on this example, this problem, I'm going to move the minus 1 over by adding, right? Opposite of minus is plus, so plus 1 to both sides. We get x squared is 25. Well, we want just x, so square root both sides, and when we square root, I believe from chapter 9, we learned this. When we square root, we got to bring that plus or minus. And what times what is 25? It is 5. So plus or minus 5 is our answer. Both of them are answers, not just minus, not just plus, both. Okay. One last one for 11.1 is x minus 1 over 4 equals 9 over 3x. So we cross multiply one last time here, like that. And we get 3x times x minus 1 is 4 times 9. Well, 3x times x, 3x squared, 3x times minus 1, minus 3x. 4 times 9 is 36. And now this is one where we have the two pieces, like 2 problems ago, where we're going to need to bring the 36 over by subtraction. And now we've got this. Oof, looks pretty hard. Normally we would do 3 times minus 36. And what number is that? And then how does that add to equal minus 3? Well, we haven't run into any of these in chapter 10, so what we actually can do is look for a number that's in all 3 pieces. Well, divided by 3, we can divide all pieces by 3. Just like if you had 4x equals 100, right, you can divide by 4, same thing here. So we're going to divide each piece by 3, and instead of doing 3 times 36, which is like 108, we're now going to have x squared minus x minus 12 is 0. What happened? Divide by 3. 3 over 3 is now 1. Divide by 3, negative 3 over 3 minus 1x. 36 divided by 3 minus 12, which is a lot easier and looks a lot like the last problem a couple problems ago. 1 times negative 12 gives you minus 12 up here. Adds equal minus 1 on the bottom. Numbers are going to be minus 4 and 3 this time. Last time it was minus 3 and 4. And so x minus 4 times x plus 3 is 0. X minus 4 equals 0 at x is 4. And x plus 3 equals minus 3. So we got the flip from that answer. And that wraps up today's lesson. Again, please ask questions if you have any on Zoom or by chat or by Google Classroom or by email. Thank you. Thank you.